robotic surgery, stem cell research, AR, Formula 3 car design, and bioastronautics. She's also a yoga instructor and CrossFit coach, blending wellness with high-performance science. Sarah champions representation, equality, and human rights, volunteering across Africa to empower women, teach, and protect marine ecosystems. Her work has earned global recognition, including the Explorers Club 50 People Changing the World, IAF Emerging Space Leader Award, and Karman Fellowship. Featured on CNN, BBC, Forbes, Vogue, and CNBC, Sarah inspires a generation to think boldly, act bravely, and reach beyond borders.
A round of applause, please. Sarah, welcome to Lagos, the heartbeat and commercial capital of Nigeria. You know, there's a saying that we have in Lagos. They say, "Ekuno dey carry last," meaning that we always come out on top. We are not at the back. You know, everything Lagosians do always ends up at the top. So maybe you can say that for us. Ekuno dey carry last.
Say it again, sir.
Ekuno dey carry last.
Ekuno dey carry
last. A round of applause, please. So great. I think I'm really honored to sit next to somebody who's very, very accomplished, and I think it's also an inspiration to young people here. And it's, you know, space is something I've always been fascinated about, and I didn't know that early on in life I would be sitting next to an astronaut, a real life astronaut. And please, mind you, I'm still young, so I said early on, I'm not old. All the Gen Zs here, I'm still with you, right? But getting into it, please, if you don't mind, could you just do a short introduction of your profile? I don't know if everybody heard, and just tell us what you do, what you've done, and perhaps your company now, and what you're doing with that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. And thank you for being here to Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor. And thank you so much for everyone being here. It's my first time in Lagos. It's my first time in Nigeria, actually. We've been traveling a little bit around the country, my partner and I, and nephew who's sitting also here, and a few of our teams. And also, I just want to also say something. I have been honored to be given a Nigerian name. My name is Doshima, and my partner's name is Dofan. So we have Nigerian names. Yes. So I'm Sarah Salome. I'm the first Egyptian astronaut and the first Arab and African woman to go to space. My background is my journey has been quite unconventional. I grew up in Egypt. I studied chemical engineering there. But because I've always dreamed about something that wasn't there, that didn't exist, people always trying to put me in a box. And I never really fit in. I never really fit wherever I was. I never really was taken seriously for having dreams at the scale of they were. But I knew deep inside of me that it was doable, that it was possible, that we should not be limited by whatever people tell us around us. And for me, that's exactly what I did. When I decided to study mechanical engineering, focus on electronics. But in doing that, I was told that it would be too hard for someone like me, that I shouldn't be doing that. When I wanted to do my master's in biomedical engineering, I was told that I would never have any opportunities in my country. And then when it came to working in the space field, I was told that I was wasting my time. And that pretty much the whole vibe was that I should be focused on just getting married and just, that's what I should be doing. Not really striving for something that hasn't been done before. No one in Egypt, no one in Africa has gone to space. No one has been selected as an astronaut to go to space. So why would I be any different? Why would a young girl from Africa, from Egypt, be any different in doing something that hasn't been done before? Why? I think for me, I think I'm a little bit delusional in the sense that I think things are doable. My background in mechatronics allowed me to break problems and really try to break them and try to understand how things are built. For me, it's just allowed me to see the world in that way, in the same way. Whenever you see anything around you, every single person here sitting down, everything that you see around you has been built by someone or been built by a team of people. which means that it's doable, right? Try to break it down, reverse engineer things. And that for me is how I treated life. I treated my career in the same way. I decided that if I wanted to use the physics of Newtonian physics and the physics of the world to really try to understand how to solve issues, we have to have engineering. For me, if I wanted to solve problems that exist in the human body, I had to do biomedical engineering because it's a combination of the two. And then when I wanted to think about the future of humanity, this is where the hardware comes into where people kind of like also ask, how did I get to even wanting to go to space? For me, it was always about asking questions. I had a lot of questions. And a lot of questions about where humanity was and where it's going. And for me, the only way for us to have these answers is to have the technology in order for us to be multiplanetary, for us to take that technology back and have those answers. So that's what led me to the space field. I'm doing my PhD in aerospace and I work on spacesuits. I founded a nonprofit in the US called the Space Initiative, where we're giving access to people from all over the world to be able to be a part of the space field, because for me, as an Egyptian, I wasn't allowed to be a part of the field. I wasn't allowed to apply to the positions that existed in the field because of policy, because of the laws that have been put in place during the Cold War, during just when it was more space was more on the military side, on the national security side. But things are changing, and I think policy also, I think that's a conversation that we could also talk about, is that we always have to adapt to the environment. And what you in your office are doing is exactly that. Like what you have presented earlier a few minutes ago, it really shows that there's so much listening to what the actual world is going. And then we bring that back to policy, and it's all constantly, it's a lot of work. My exposure to this has been very, it's very eye-opening. And I commend you for what you're doing. I commend the commissioner, the deputy governor as well, because it's a really difficult job. Engineering.
Absolutely.
We have right and wrong. We have elegant solutions, we have non-elegant solutions, but policy is hard, I have to say. I have to give you that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. I think a few things you mentioned, Sarah, is that it was like a little bit delusional. And so I think that's something I've learned today. I think a little delusion is necessary. Delusion in the sense that when people tell you cannot do this, and you're like, no, I can do it. I mean, it's not that hard. I think I can, scale this. And, thinking of a grand challenge, where is humanity going next? I think people that think in those terms actually do big things. I think I've heard Elon Musk say things like that we need to be interplanetary species, right? And that is exactly what motivates all of these chopstick rockets, reusable rockets and all of that. So it seems you've broken many barriers, right? Where did this motivation come from? Was it from family? Was it from environment? Or was it just an inner call? Could you talk about that in just like 2 minutes?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it's a little bit of both. For me, it took a lot for me to also understand that if we're trying to do something that's big, then we are going to face resistance. And for me, it took me a while to also not only accept resistance, but embrace it. I took it and added it to my equation for innovation. Innovation means taking something that's already established, creating something new, plus the sum of resistance. Because without that, it means that it's not actually innovating enough. And for me, I accepted that very, very deeply, and I knew that it was going to be a challenge to break something. But I also have to give it to my parents. My mother, she grew up in Lebanon. So my mother is Lebanese. She was one of 3 to graduate from electrical engineering in her country. And she did that despite living through the war. So after she graduated, she moved to Saudi Arabia to find refuge. And she ended up running an entire hospital at the age of 28. So I had very, very, very big shoes to fill. My mother is definitely someone who's worked incredibly hard. She moved to Egypt after all of that and started a company and was raising 3 kids almost by herself. It it's a really big, to see that there's so much that could be done. My father did the same thing. He grew up in a small town in Egypt, and then moved to Saudi to find work, and then ended up he did everything that he could to give us a better life that he had. He spent 80% of his salary on my basic education. So I think both of my parents really prioritized education and allowed us to really have control over our lives, and education really gave me agency over mine, really allowed me to see the world in a way where it's really, I knew that if I worked hard that I would be able to achieve something. For me, we were talking about that as well, like with my partner, that it's not about, it's not about being afraid of failure. And, I get to answer a question about what is failure? For me, failure is just, failure doesn't happen until it's the end of the road. I think it's when I die, that's I think maybe if I didn't finish a project. Because everything is just a part of the path. Everything is just, you learn from this, you break it, you do it again, and that's a part of innovation, that's a part of the path. So I've never really looked at my failures as failures. And that's actually the thing that I've been thinking about where I don't actually have that mindset.
Right, absolutely. So mindset is very important. You mentioned something that if you start something, there should be some resistance, otherwise it's not important enough.